Alrighty. Well, again, like I said before this, thanks for doing this again. You're gonna see I'm not gonna do any real intro. This is just basic conversation.
Love it.
How do you want me to call you? Skari, Ridvan, Senor
Skari,
Martinez?
Skari's good. Yeah,
Skari?
yeah, Senor Martinez. That's so formal. A ver, señor Martínez, ándale, o dice pinche güero, ándale, pinche güero, lo que me
Don
decían en la
Martinez.
escuela.
All right, so yeah, so you were part of Team Canada WTC 2025 for the 40k World Team Championships. Before we get really into it, how'd you get into 40k? How'd you start?
Empecé hace muchos años. I started, so I went to school in Coajimalpa, West Hill Institute. It was like my high school, middle school. Then I went to Tecnológico Monterrey, Campus Pachuca. That's where I graduated from high school. Yeah. So Tec de Monterrey, Campus Pachuca was my high school. And then, so I started 40K when I was 12. So that was 26 years ago.
Oh, so you're my age.
Yeah, I'm 38. Yeah, I'm 38, going on 39 in January. So yeah, I'm almost there. What do you mean, ouch? I don't look a day over 20, my friend.
Agreed.
My body does not agree with that statement. I literally woke up the other day with a cramp. Like my calf cramped up. I was like, what the hell? And so I'm wearing a red compression sock today because I'm like, I'm just old now. My body's decided to start breaking down. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was born in Cuernavaca, Morelos, and we lived in Coajimalpa, and I went to England to my grandmother's funeral. And while I was in England, we were visiting like my parents' friends, and I found a white dwarf. And so I was like, just, minding my own business while they were having tea or whatever, reading this old white dwarf. And I was like, this is really cool. It was awesome. It was like an old school white dwarf. And
explain to people what the white dwarf is.
So a white dwarf is a magazine for toys, like a little toy soldier magazine. It was like a catalog. It had like little things like reports of like you playing a game, or like editorials and pictures, lots of pictures of really fun painted miniatures, right? And it captivated me as a young 12-year-old. Maybe some trauma bonding in there, considering my grandma had just died. And then now I had been a fan of building model airplanes and boats, and like my dad had kind of got me into that. Like he bought me my first model airplane, like a car, just an airplane when I was maybe 8 or 10, and I had learned how to build like with the plastic glue and stuff like that, like build a model airplane and a boat. I had Jacques Cousteau's boat in like his old like whatever the name of that boat was, the Calypso or whatever it was called.
Calypso.
Yeah. And so that was like in my room, and so I always loved that. So when we were walking around, we walked into a model shop. I was like, ooh, models, right? Like all the big like models in the window. And back in the corner there was this shelf, Warhammer stuff. And I was like, ooh, I saw these in the magazine, basically. And I ended up walking out of that store with the 3rd edition starter set, which was some Space Marines, which was like superhuman soldiers versus evil elves that had like pointy hats. And there was like scenery in it, and had like a little building to use, and some trees and a couple of barrels that you had to like build and put together, as well as like a rule book and all the tools and stuff you needed to sort of like get started, and some dice and stuff like that. And that was the beginning of the next 26 years of me playing this game with no breaks. I've never taken a break from it, and it's now my career, and I do it as a job. So
that's awesome.
Let's just say it's been a long journey, and I'm loving every minute of it. So that's how I started. Yeah.
Nice. And that's so awesome. That's such a crazy story. So let's go quickly back. How would you explain to someone who does not know 40K or just Warhammer overall? What is it?
So is Warhammer? Well, Warhammer is I would say like it's a hobby that involves potentially playing a game that is like little miniatures. It's a combination of, if you've ever played a game like Risk or Dungeons and Dragons, where there's like dice rolling. Like Risk is probably the easiest, like in terms of dice rolling to attack and defend and things like that.
Right.
And then you expand it to having sort of like a faction that you collect and that you kind of buy into, and then playing against another person who has like their little faction as well. And it's like and then it's like chess in the sense that there's like lots of different units and you kind of go back and forth. It's now a lot of people don't even play the game. Warhammer can be just collecting, building, and painting really cool scenery pieces, right? Which is, you know, completely, so people have like display cabinet for like the stuff they painted, and it's like art, but it can be strategy. So there's like so many different things. And I think the thing that unites us all is like we love the setting and the aesthetic of the game more than like potentially the strategy part of it or the game part of it or the painting or the building. Like every person connects to it in a different way. So it's like but we all understand the grim darkness of the far future.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
so
like
do you have
the baseline.
Do you have a favorite part? Do you prefer painting? Are you into mostly? I love the books. I paint. I'm an art. I graduated in arts. 2008. I love painting. I played twice. I worked on Space Marine very briefly at THQ.
Yeah.
Way back in the days.
Back in the day.
That's how I got into it.
I love it.
What do you prefer? Painting, playing, or just? I mean, you're known in the sphere. You're one of the top names as a player worldwide. You're known in the sphere as a great painter. I mean, do you have a favorite part?
As a great painter? Well, I appreciate that. That's the, you know, I feel like I have painted to play more than I have ever painted to paint.
Fair enough.
You know, like I feel like when I do sit down and paint something, like, and I take my time with it, I really enjoy it and it looks good. But a lot of the time, because of my competitive nature, where I'm like playing in a lot of tournaments and I do like coaching, like I coach people how to play competitively, which means that a lot of the time I have to just be in the mix of what's new and things like that. So I tend to just have to make sure that I can paint stuff quickly to get them on the table and showcase them and go to events and things like that. I feel like the best way to describe me is I'm like a unicorn in the sense that I like every aspect of it. Like I love converting, which is a thing that you do where you kind of grab things from lots of different kits and kind of put them all together and make your own thing. It's like kit bashing or crafting. Like there's a lot of things where you find like, ooh, I like this hand and this head. They're from completely different things, but I want to put them together and make something cool and unique, right? So I like that part. I love the painting aspect, where like, you know, right now, for example, I've been painting this little guy here. So I painted this old metal. This is a metal pewter. So this miniature is probably about 20 some years old. This is an old model. This is my original. It's my little marshal, my little captain. He's like a Black Templar captain. And so I've been in the process of transferring his paint scheme of old 20-year-old model to brand new Terminator. Same model, just 20 years apart. You can tell that there's a little bit of sizing difference there, as this is all plastic. But I'm having a lot of fun taking my 14 or 15-year-old paint scheme, like when I was 15, and transferring the colors onto the brand new model to make him basically the same character, but you know, in like modernized. So I really enjoy that aspect. And then I also really enjoy storytelling and what we call narrative gaming, as well as competitive stuff. So not only do I play for Team Canada and I play very competitively, right now I'm on a push to be the #1 Warhammer player in the world this year. I'm currently ranked 7th in the world, and I'm
I thought I had seen 6th.
What, sorry?
I thought I had seen you were 6th, actually.
I was 7th. I was 8th, and then I just pushed up to 7th once they blanked out Josh's scores because he's So So I'm in 7th right now, and I've got 3 big events. So I'm pushing for number 1. It's within my grasp, but I also love what we call narrative game, which is storytelling, and playing games that are just for the cinematic of playing the game and the storytelling of characters on characters and ambushes in the middle of the jungle and stuff like that aren't balanced or fair in any way. But I love that part too. So I'd say I'm all-rounder. I like a little bit of everything.
So to explain narrative, do you mean in the sense similar to D&D, or do you like? Have you ever played a game where you pick a campaign, like Eastbound 5 or something like Topside Massacre?
Yeah, like so there's lots of settings, and there's lots of like campaign books and things that give you a setting. Like you're going to play on this planet, and these are the different factions that are fighting for this planet, and so you can kind of create a story. Like every game and the result of the game will influence the story. Right, so it's sort of like, so that's really fun. You also can kind of get a character and sort of generate a story over time for that character. Like you can keep like how many characters did they kill, or how many times did they go down in battle, and it's about creating a cinematic in your head. It's all imagination. You know what I mean? Like so it's I love that aspect as well. It's a good escape from the crazy reality of life. You know what I mean? And just those stories, like the most vivid memories I have of playing and laughing with friends across the table is like when the dice just do something stupid and you're like, how is this possible? Right. And it's just
play orc.
That's right. Yeah, good old orcs are everywhere. Yeah, that is right.
There we go. And all right, let's get into it. So you mentioned coaching people, you mentioned competitive aspect, you mentioned, of course, the narrative. We'll get back to narrative after. How'd you get into the competitive side of things?
Well, I've always been a very competitive player. Like I love competition.
Right.
But not in a nasty competitive way. Like I love always trying to constantly improve myself, and I love a challenge. Right. It's one of the reasons why I play the faction that I play, is because it's not considered the best faction, but I love being like, look at what I can do with a bad faction. Right. Because I just love sort of like proving a point. If that makes sense.
Which army do you run right now? Was it
I'm playing the Drukhari. So the Drukhari are
my bad. I'm sorry.
They used to be called the Dark Elves. Oh, the Dark Eldar. They're basically evil pirate elves. Right. Sci-fi evil pirate sadistic elves. Yeah, that's probably the easiest the description. What was the question?
How'd you get into competitive?
Yes,
and you led to
I haven't taken my ADHD meds yet today. So I was the squirrel was taking me somewhere else. So I started playing. So I played with my brother. My brother's 2 years younger than I, and we basically played, like we split the box set and we played back and forth. So that was short. It was like brotherly rivalry, back and forth. Like we loved, playing each other all the time. And then when I was in school, I ended up finding out about imp hobbies down in the south of Mexico City. I'm pretty sure it's still there, but I'm not sure if they do this. It's the same as it was, or it might have closed down. I don't know. But imp was like the place to play Warhammer. It was like the only place in all of Mexico City to play Warhammer. So every Saturday, I'd get up really early, take la micro down to like to the metro, and I'd go all the way down to like the nearest metro station, and then I'd walk for like 20 minutes. So this whole ordeal was like in the morning, and I'd get there for like 10 a.m. for them when they opened the doors, and we'd literally play from like 10 a.m. to like till close, and then everybody go out to food, and I'd just get the micro back to go back up to where I was going or whatever. And I did that every Saturday for years.
So oh my God, you're like a Pentacero Miedo, the Warhammer in Mexico. You would sleep in front of the shop instead of the arena.
100 would be. I would. And because it was the only, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And there's a culture in la mexicana culture, la barra mexicana, right? Where you had to play the noob stomper. And in that case, it was good old Troy. And Troy is a legend, okay? He was like the noob stomper supreme. And it's great because I've actually kept in touch with him, and I got to see him. He lives in like London, England now with his family, and I actually got to play a game with him like 2 years ago. We went to like a local shop and played a game, and this is the guy that like taught me how to play Warhammer. It was fantastic. And so that's how I got into competitive gaming. They had a tournament once every couple of months. Then the culture at the store was one of friendly beat the crap out of your friends competition, right? Like it's just in the culture. You just the best thing you can do is humiliate your friends in the nicest way possible, right? And so that's kind of like how I grew up. Is like you learned in the school of hard knocks, right? And you just put your reps in. And eventually those losses turned into draws, and then the draws turned into wins, and it created that friendly air, like competition aura, and you just constantly networking. And once you graduated as a newer player to be like more mature, and then you'd kind of play the other people in the store. And I went to my first tournament there. And that just kind of hooked me. I was like, and I just had a lot of fun. I was playing my Black Templars back then, little Space Marine guys. They're like, yeah. And that was one thing led to another. And then when I moved to Pachuca, there was no scene in Pachuca. So I created the scene. Like we had a little game club, and we all like put money together to buy a 6x4 piece of plywood that we used as a table. And we'd get together on like the weekends and just play. And we played like Warhammer. So you basically had like, you photocopied the models from the picture book, cut them out, and just had them on like little piece of cardboard bases and stuff. Anyway, so it was fun. Yeah. Así es lo que tenías que hacer para poder jugar, claro. Right? And then I moved to Canada when I was 18, and I've been here since.
Man, there's so many questions you're giving me right now. Okay.
Little bit of everything, it's just it's
you threw me off rail here, so I'm not gonna follow anything any notes I said.
That's how I got into competitive play. Like most recently, I got into competitive play like as a real competitor in 2018 was when I really started. 2018 was when I really got into the scene, and that's when competition and like social media really started pushing, and that's when I made the transition from my old job, which I was working in sales, to be doing content creation, Warhammer coaching full time. And so in that year, that 2018, like late 2018, that was like my choice to be like, you know what, I'm going to try and do this full time. And so since then, now it'll be in November of this year, 19, 20, 23, 24, 25. It'll be 7 years of me doing it full time. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's
and I made a job.
It's just the community is what allows me to do it.
Of course.
If people didn't give a crap, then I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So I owe everything to everybody who cares, right? So I really appreciate that I get to do it. And it's still a fever dream, but I'm riding that wave. Yeah, it's really fun.
How do you see the scene? How was the scene for Warhammer in general in Mexico back then?
So back then it was a very small scene. Like since then, I have a couple of coaching clients that that I've worked with. I've also worked with El Bunker, right? Like right, like Carlos and the guys from El Bunker, and like and I went to an RTT a couple of years ago after the big the earthquake like a couple of years ago. I was up there, right? So there's a variety of different things that I know that the scene has grown a lot more. Now I have always loved the sense of community of Warhammer, and I always understand as well how cliquey it can be, because here in Canada is the same thing. Like each store is like, I'm from this store and I'm from this store, and they don't like a lot of times they don't intermix. And that's always it's a struggle to like get folks to cross-pollinate sometimes, and that's true anywhere. But I've always been a vagrant, so I've been able to go to different. Like I don't plant my flag anywhere. I'm like I just play Warhammer. I don't care where Warhammer is, But I always remember it being like a really like if you were in that group, it was just like another family, right? And I think that has remained the same, you know. And there's always people to find, to play, to communicate. Now with social media and things being a lot more easily accessible, especially through like 3D printing and, you know, sourcing and stuff like that, it's a lot easier to get into the hobby nowadays than it ever was.
Absolutely.
So we're like in that sort of golden age of this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's exploding, honestly, especially with what we've seen with Amazon and the whole what's his name? Who will take the role of who knows who, Henry Cavill. I feel like it just blew up, especially with Space Marine 2. I feel like it became super mainstream. I was seeing the streams for WTC, and we're talking combined, I think 100,000 people or some ridiculous number. I was like, this is insane. I remember when I got here in Mexico in 2019, when I became permanent resident. I found a few shops, and one thing led to the other. I started discovering a bunch of shops, and people were so cool here. They were so nice, so welcoming.
Something I remember, but is the hobby level,
right?
In like, I remember the hobby level being incredibly high, and this was like 20 years ago, right? Like where everybody in like the folks that because things like Citadel paints and stuff were like really expensive, so they used things like Vallejo paints and paints that had like that were like new at the time, and like but they were more vibrant colors, and like the textures were totally different than the old Citadel paints. And I always remember the armies that people painted, like the hobby just being like whoa. Like, but it was like a standard across, like, if you played Warhammer, you painted your stuff and you made it look good, right? And it was just like people took a lot of pride in like, this is my little, like, this is my stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, that's still the same over here, but I feel like it was just different in like a very in like a unique way. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it's a different vibe completely here in Mexico versus Canada. I used to go to the Games Workshop in Montreal, which was, I mean, I didn't know really many hobby shops, but people were, it felt more like a store.
Yeah,
just a standard like store.
Yeah, it's like there to buy. You're there to sell and buy stuff,
exactly.
Right? Like it's not really a like, you know, it's a community. Like when you go to like a lot of these shops or now stores, it's more like community showed up. It's like, you know, everybody knows each other. You're joking around. You're like teasing each other because you like each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're just like, and you're trying to like come up with crazy ideas, and you're talking about like combos, and then people are sitting down or painting or bringing that. Look at this cool model that I painted, and you look at it and it's like just insane, you know, and you're like, this is crazy. And like, yeah, I've been working on that for like, you know, a month or whatever. And people wouldn't tell each other what new models they bought. They'd show up with like the new unit, be like, haha, I brought my new unit, my trap card, you know. But they'd wait, you know, till it was like ready to like showcase and be like, you didn't know I had a Baneblade or whatever it was. Anyway, it's just
Imperial Knight.
yeah. Oh, I got my first knight. Yeah, exactly. You're like, haha, I'm not using the same list I always use because I finally got a knight. Joke's on you. Anyway, so yeah.
But there's I don't know if you want to shout out. I'm not ending it, but any shops you want to shout out from Mexico? Anyone?
Well, I don't know all of the shops. I'm not going to shout out any of them like specifically. Like El Bunker is like Carlos and the Bunker guys. Like literally, you know. But I have gone to a variety of different stores. I've just been working with him as of late, and a lot of the crew. They're going to be doing like a big GT, you know, later this year with GW to prepare everybody for the WCW, the World Championships of Warhammer. So that I've been helping him like pick the missions and make sure the terrain layouts are good, and just like there's that sort of stuff. So you know, there's like, yeah, it's been a good time. But I know there's like lots of different stores, right? And then I have been sort of like in contact with like Team Mexico for the WTC. I know they didn't send a team. They didn't send a team this year.
Yeah.
You know, Austria is expensive and it was hard to get to, so I understand that there was probably some logistical issues. But I hope to see the team out there in the future, and I hope that, you know, if anybody's interested in getting involved, that there's a way to get involved, and people can find out more about that as well. So Yeah.
I heard a cool story about Team Mexico from the last WTC that they brought dulces de chamoy, all sorts of dulces over there, and started giving them to the organizers and everything. Be like, this is what we have here.
Yeah, sugar and salt and chili.
There we go.
Delicious. Actually, I
Cool.
always go to like La Tiendita. There's like a little Mexican restaurant, and they have all of my favorites. So I go there and I eat way too many pulparindos and things. So I just can eat a whole box. I'm like, yummy. And then my teeth rot, and I wake up the next morning. I'm like, why did my gums hurt?
I can kill mazapan con chocolate, the wrap one.
Yummy. Miguelitos, just like sugar and yummy.
I don't know how we don't have diabetes yet.
I know. If I ever get gout, I'll know what it is. Anyway. So
tell me, how was WTC? Explain how it went. Explain the level, the teams you faced. Mostly, let's start where. How'd you guys get the team together? How'd you train?
So the process that we use this year for Team Canada is one that we've been refining for like 4 years. So this was my 5th time on the team. I went to, it used to be called the ETC, which is the European Team Championship. And then 5 years ago, it rebranded. 4 years ago, it rebranded into the WTC.
Right.
And so the WTC is now the World Team Championship. So countries can send a team to represent your country at the world stage against a variety of different countries. So when I went, there was like 26 teams, and now, like my first time I went, and now there's like 42 plus teams of countries from all over the world, from China all the way to like, to New Zealand, Canada, right? South Korea had a team, Hong Kong had a team. So there's there's now countries from all over the world. South Africa sends a team now every year. So we have, and it's constantly growing. Now, each country can do the selection however the country wants. So that's like, the organization has nothing to do with like how countries select their teams or anything like that. But it is a team of 8 players, right? So 8 players that will go and represent your country. And usually there's some support staff like coaches, or like a captain that doesn't play but is just there to support. So a team can vary anywhere from like 9 minimum, right? Like a captain, coach, and then 8 players, all the way to about 12 to 16, depending on how many support staff you have. And how you select who to go and what you need for your team varies from country to country. So if you're curious in your country or in Mexico, there should be a way to reach out to either the captain or the organization that runs it to find out how a team is selected. Now, in Canada, it used to be, do you have money and a pulse? And if that was,
yeah,
and that was how you got on the team. And a lot of countries that are starting off, or it's a lot of, can you afford to go, right? Like that's like probably one of the number one things. Can you pay for a plane ticket, go to Europe, and stay a week there playing Warhammer? Can you afford that? And do you own an army, right? Like that's in some places that's like the simplest way to get on a team. But in Canada, we've now developed it into a non-for-profit. So Team Canada has a non-for-profit organization, so we can accept donations and sponsorships, right? So we've got, and that helps cover a lot of the costs. So our goal has always been to be able to take the best players, not just players that can afford to go, right? And so we've been working very hard on making that a reality, number one. So it's a democratic process where we have an application. So you can fill in an application form if you're serious about wanting to get onto the team. And in order to apply, there are some requirements, like you have to be active in the competitive scene, right? You have to have a record of like playing competitively. You have to have a good attitude, right? Things like that, like in a good record in terms of sportsmanship and things like that. And the way that we do in Canada is we have a Patreon, which is sort of like a fundraising page where applicants subscribe to the Patreon, and it is because before it was like you had like an upfront sort of like deposit to make an application to show intent, right? Like it was like 100 Canadian dollars to just submit your application, and it was sort of like a deposit. You got that money back if you didn't make the team or whatever, but it was like just to show that you were serious and not just wasting people's time. Now you just subscribe to the Patreon as like an ongoing monthly thing. It's like $5 or $10 or whatever, and that shows your intent, but also that those funds go to end up supporting the team to end up going, right? So it's just like a different system. And then we get the applications, the captain team or captain crew interviews every single applicant, and then from those interviews they narrow it down to, I think it was 30 applicants. Right. So say you had 60 or whatever applicants, it goes down and we narrow it down to like 30. And then from there, they make a decision of the team, and the team itself is 16 players. So out of those 30, we pick 16 players and usually about 4 coaching staff. So it ends up going from like 30 to 20. And then from those 16 team members, we pick a traveling team of 8. So it's like a starting roster. It's like a football team, right?
Yeah, you have 22,
you have 22 players on the team, but you have 11 starters, right? And that's kind of like the system that we're going for, is more like sports based. And it allows like players, if something happens or whatever, we've got like people who can sub in, right? Depending on life and health and things like that. But it also allows us to have a broader spectrum of what sort of like factions are good. So if anything changes throughout the year, we can be like, ooh, we need this person to play this faction at the Worlds. That might change or might vary depending on who the captain organization is, because we elect a captain, so a captain is the person that basically does the admin, but they sort of like have a platform by which they're going to sort of like run the team for the year. And so there can be 2 or 3, sometimes 4 different applicants for captain, or like candidates for captaincy. And they might have a team of 2 people or 1 person or 3 people, and they have like a platform that they're running by. Like, this is how we're going to train. This is how we're going to do like the selection and all that stuff. And members of the team of years past can also like cast a vote and vote for their sort of preferred platform to then see the team move on into the future. And then from there, there's like a board as well that kind of does stuff as well. So it's like a lot more of a involved process now, other than just can you go, yeah.
Do you have money to buy figurines?
Correct, right? Can you afford a plane ticket and a hotel and entry fee and nowadays it's to the point where with fundraising, like all the different fundraisers, the Tabletop Forge, the Red Dragon in Ottawa, Trinity Games and Hobbies, right?
Shout out to Red Dragon in Ottawa.
That's right, Dan. He's actually been sponsoring my ITC run. Like every trip I've done for these major, I'm full on sponsored by him as a as a player. So and so yeah, shout out to Dan. Is like, I couldn't have done this whole year of me trying to get to #1 without him literally being like, yes, here's my logo on your shirt and here's a bunch of plane tickets. So it's awesome. So it means a lot to me. But like a lot of people now and then, like individual donations and fundraising has allowed Team Canada to now basically go to the event, and we're almost at the point where the next thing, because things like hotel are pretty much covered, food, hotel, entry fees, basic uniforms and dice and stuff that we need for the event, basically covered. And now the next step is if we have enough fundraising, like plane tickets will be covered. And this is only like the second year we've been doing fundraising, because it costs about 12,000 Canadian dollars to send the entire team. Without plane tickets.
That's a big amount,
right? Without plane tickets, that's just like entry, food, like hotels, like all that stuff. But it's so that the organization is there to help with that, and hopefully if you want to get involved, you get involved and find out the process and help with the process.
Right.
And yeah, anyway, I forgot what the original
And
talk was.
but to be clear, people can subscribe to the Patreon just to support as well.
Yep. Yeah, we have like a supporter one if people just want to donate, and then we've got the more like serious applicant like one as well, or people want to get more involved with it too.
Yeah. Subscribe to the Patreon. I'm a member as well. So go in Canada. So yeah, I was asking you how you guys selected the team for the this year's, and so I'm assuming everyone on the team is from all across the country, or are you guys a bit more centralized? So you're in Toronto, if I remember correctly.
I'm near Toronto. Yeah, we do have like the highest density population is in Ontario, right?
Yeah,
so like Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, like so a lot of players or a lot more players tend to come from that area because there's just more people. However, we have built a team that is Canada-wide. We have coaches that come all the way from like Vancouver, the players from like Edmonton, Calgary, like Alberta area, all the way to Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we from Quebec, from Toronto area, from Montreal. So we are trying to make sure that the team encompasses the entirety of the continent and try and make it as varied as possible. Now, of course, it is a lot about skill set, right? So like if you're good enough and you live in Vancouver, you'll be on the team. If that makes sense. If you're good enough and you're in Halifax, you'll be on the team. And that is like probably is the number one thing. So, but we try and make it varied, but it's not like we're forcing ourselves to do that at the expense of having the best players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And how much variety of types of armies do you have on the team?
Every army.
Every single one.
Yeah. Like there's like everybody has an Elder army, everybody has a Space Marine army, you know what I mean? But you try and focus on like as you get closer, armies change and stuff. So you want people who are flexible, quick on their feet, can adapt. So it's really more about player skill than what army do you play. You know, we had like 3 people jump on armies like a month before the event. You know what I mean? And be like, you're gonna play this now. And they just had to put their head down and play, 6 games a week until the event, So, and they learned it and they applied it and they got to the event and they were prepared. So it's more about work ethic and player skill than specifically what army we play. Because the armies we can find, we can source the army, we can get it, but it's more about work ethic and about like the attitude to be okay with that flexible switch right at the end, especially because there's always like changes to the game or new things that come out or rulings that happen that might change the dynamic of what we're trying to achieve.
Of course. Well, that makes sense. And how was WTC? How did it go? How was the event for Team Canada?
Well, Team Canada had our best performance ever. We came in 8th place out of 42 teams. And it's the first time. So we lost our last round. So we came out of our pod. So there's a group stage, kind of like FIFA style. There's a group stage. We won our group stage. And so we were right in the mix with some of the top teams basically for the rest of the event, which was really very good. It was a good skill test. And we lost against Germany in the final round. They gambled and it paid off for them. They knew that they were kind of like had paired into like a losing round. And so they said, everybody gamble on going first. And they went first 7 out of 8 tables. Hey, it is what it is. They knew they had to gamble and they went for it. And it paid off. But they ended up in 2nd place. And so if we win that round, we end up in 2nd place or 3rd place, which is awesome because that's the first time Canada has ever been fighting for a podium position, which has never happened before. And that was like just so good. Like the team vibed very well. We all knew what our roles were and our jobs were. And there was no animosity. There was no ego. It was, you just showed up. We had a plan. We wanted to execute the plan. And we took our wins as a team and we took our losses as a team and we just shook it off and moved on to the next one. Right. And that's that. Yeah.
Toughest teams to play.
So Poland is always really tough.
I watched that.
We almost tied Poland. I think we were 3 points, like 3 differential points
Yeah.
away from tying Poland, which is a crazy thing because Poland is the most decorated team at the world stage. They have the most wins across like everything. France won the event.
Right.
They've been on
Of course.
fire the last couple of years, and they're just crushing all opposition. So we didn't get to play them, but they're like one of the best teams. Germany has had a rebrand. They've kind of like been on a rebuild for the last 3 or 4 years, and this year that just showed that all that work and effort has finally paid off. We played Austria, which is another contender. So we played a lot of like great teams. Of course, Scotland, always a riot. You know, that was a game that we gambled a little bit and paid off. So that was really good. Yeah, that's man. And then the US is there. They always have a good team.
Of course.
You know, I don't think we ended up playing into some of the other teams that are great, but like anybody in that like top 15 or top 20 is like very good. But like every game you play, like even 42nd, like every player you play there is a GT winner. Like so every game you play is the finals of a tournament. Every single game. There are no easy games at all. But you're going to play champions the entire time. And you've probably never heard of this person before, but they have like honed their craft and know what they're supposed to do. And there's no easy games, but everything's done with such a good attitude. And it's a very cooperative experience, but you will play some tough games of Warhammer.
I'll be honest, watching the streams, everyone seemed to have a blast. Everyone, like the mood was so good.
Yeah,
I was watching, very good. This looks fun. I'll be honest, the only thing missing was a crowd. I was like, we need a crowd in there.
Like the stadium with like people going.
Almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It was great. And how about you? How'd you said you were more or less, you know, assistant captain.
No, not this year. I've been assistant captain.
My mistake.
This year. I'm more like a hype man, where I'm like my attitude is unbreakable. But this whole the team was just vibing. We gelled really well this year.
Absolutely. And how do you go about coaching during a tournament like that? How does the coaching work during in-game? You know, in hockey, of course, you always have the bench coach and so on, the assistant coach. How does it go for a Warhammer game?
So coaches are very restricted in what they can do in a game. Like you can't really tell a player that what they need to do or things like that. You know, a coach is more there to see, like they'll gauge how your game is going, good or bad, and then they'll gauge it in relation to the other games that are happening, and then they'll come to you and be like, we need you to get more points than you said you were going to get. And so sometimes that's like your opening to be like, well, I have to take some gambles, or I have to make sure that I get a little bit more aggressive, or try and fight, like be a little bit more involved in what I'm trying to do. And sometimes they'll come up to you and be like everything's good in terms of what we said we were all going to do. So don't take gambles. You don't need to take, you know what I mean? Like don't go for that 9-inch charge that's going to lose you the game, you know, that sort of thing.
They give you the straight talk, basically.
Yeah, they're like, look, we need you to try get more points. And you're like, well, I'll do what I can, or, you know, just don't lose, you know, like don't throw away the game, you know, don't do something stupid, you know. It's like, okay, so like and they can't really involve, like a lot of the times they just refill your water bottle, bring you snacks at the table, like so you can just 100% focus on the game. And
it helps.
It is incredible. It is the best. They help you put your army away after the game, so you can just focus on playing. Basically, some teams bring professional cooks. Some teams bring like masseuses. You know, like to have. Oh yeah, it's like a full-on professional sport. Like, you know,
you're standing up all day as well.
Correct. You know, if you can organize like meals for your team or whatever, they'll organize where we're going for food. Like there's a lot of things a coach can do that just takes the load off of the players, so the players can focus on playing Warhammer, right? And that's yeah. So it varies from team to team.
2 more questions for you. What's next for Team Canada? What's in the books?
Okay, so the first thing we do is we do like a post sort of like a post event chat where we sort of break everything down. We go over like how much money was raised, where all the money went, because it's a public, non for profit. So there's that the books are open so that everything's just kind of like above board. We also do so then the official step down of the captain, and then we go basically right into sort of like captain elections essentially. So there'll be candidates that'll set up a platform, and then there'll be a date set for like the elections or whatnot, and then from there they'll have a platform that then determines like the selection process, how long it's going to take, how that's going to work, and we'll basically start working for next year.
And what are the big tournaments coming up? Anything anytime
for Team
soon?
Canada or for Team Canada?
Yeah, for Team Canada.
Well, we don't really do any other events as like Team Canada. So, like WTC is like the big event. It's not like some countries have like big team events where the country's team is the team that won the big team league. Right. So like in France or whatever, they've got like 200 teams. And the team that wins the league nationally becomes the national team for that year or stuff like that, right? So there's like I think it's the same in Italy. They have like a very similar system. But in Canada, that's not the case. Sometimes we'll have members of Team Canada form into other teams or coach or captain other teams around the country to sort of like help generate knowledge on how teams work and kind of bring their expertise to their local teams to increase the gameplay level. But it's not really anything formally organized.
Fair enough. I know you're not involved maybe directly in them, but what do you know of Team Mexico? What's next for them?
I have no
Apart
idea.
From the need for funding, no clue.
I don't know. Like I could reach out to the captain, I guess, and
just curious.
I just watch WhatsApp him, be like, hey, what's the plan for next year? If anything, maybe depending on, I think it really depends on where. Usually, it depends on where it's going to be held. But hopefully, we see some stuff from Team Mexico. I want one of those Team Mexico shirts. They are sexy.
They're nice.
I want a Azteca shirt. It's so good. I'd love it. People walking around with them this year. I was like, I missed out last year because I wasn't at WTC last year. So I really need because we do shirt swaps, right? Like it's kind of like after your game, you swap shirts with your opponent, sort of thing, right? Like very football style. It's very, very much like football. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for this.
Thanks for having me.
People can follow you on Instagram, on Facebook, Scarecast, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the links are there. If anybody has any questions, you can always reach out as well.
And on a personal level, what's next for you? To keep on keeping on?
Well, I tomorrow afternoon, I'm flying out to the Nova Open. I'm not playing, but Games Workshop has asked me to shoutcast their live stream. So I'm going to be shoutcasting the official Games Workshop live stream with JT from Play on Tabletop, which is another big YouTube channel that does a lot of stuff. And he's a fellow Dark Eldar player like myself. So we're going to vibe. We always have a great time together. So they're shipping me out. That's streaming Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Nova Open. I believe it's 3 days. And then I fly back on Tuesday. And then I go to the Port Credit Purge, which is a little GT. Then I go camping with my family. We go out into the middle of the woods and sleep in tents for a couple of days. And then, are you ready? Going to the Stutter Scrub, which is a big team event in the Stutter Scrub, big team event here in Ontario. Then I go to the London GT, which is in London, England. Then I fly to Vegas for the LVO the weekend after. Then I'm probably going to Florida to hang out with the Art of War, which is a group of coaches and a YouTube channel. And I'm one of the coaches on the team. And we're probably going to get me over there to film some content since I'm going to be in the vicinity. Then I take a couple weeks off, do the Mike Mudd Memorial Tournament, which is a charity event that I help run. The name of our good friend Mike Mudd, who passed away many years ago. We do a charity for the local animal shelter every year. I think this is year 15 or 16.
That's great. Wow.
And it's a doubles event this year, which is really fun. So there's going to be like 120 players there, hopefully, all playing doubles. It's like a super fun event. There's like bounties and raffles and just like a very silly event. And then the World Championships of Warhammer Atlanta. And that's the cap of my season. That's the end of the season. And hopefully I'll be at #1, but I can play one game at a time. That's all I can promise. Other than that,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We're rooting for you, even in Mexico. We're rooting for you all the way.
Thanks, man. Actually,
Sorry,
Carlos was like, "Can you come to the big GT?" I was like, "Oh man, I can't. I wish I can, but hopefully next year when it's not as crazy, I can maybe organize a few other trips that aren't necessarily like a crazy run for the top spot, and maybe come down to Mexico for a GT at some point." Or because I know they run a couple every year in different spots, and it'd be really fun to go down and just participate. And Paisano over here that come down and play some games of Warhammer.
Well, if you drop by, there's Red Queen that's close by here, and they have good workshops and decent. Every Friday is like a tournament.
I love it.
Insane.
I love it. That sounds amazing.
It's a great little shop. But hey, thank you so much for doing this again. I really, really appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck, and we're going to see you. Pues sí, el número 1, ¿no? A ver.
O el número 1, señor. Aquí.
Pues sí.
Esta
en
cara.
las Américas y el mundo.
Cara de güero.
Pues ya, a huevo.
A huevo, güey, vamos.
Bueno, gracias. Nos vemos. Cuídate mucho.
Luego.
Hasta luego.